Now, if you fly over that part of Australia today, you see lots of tulipapis, like mushrooms, popped up everywhere. That's all happened in, 40 or 50 years. And it's the same geology, exactly the same geology, same age rocks. That's going to happen in Ethiopia, now that Ethiopia is welcoming it.
Friday, February 20th, 2026, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'm back from Ethiopia. I flew in this morning at 6:30 into Heathrow. I was home by 9. Rudy and I have been out for a walk already. Yes, I'm a little later than usual. Hopefully you understand that. We're going to look at what's going on in the world, in particular vis-a-vis Iran, commodities, gold and silver. But you will also want to stay tuned in for the second part of this report, because I did an exclusive interview with the executive chairman of Kefi Gold and Copper, which is the company that invited us, and by us I mean the Chancery royalty team that went to Ethiopia. Yes, this company invited us to Ethiopia, and they put up the whole the whole event there for the whole week. And yes, I interviewed Harry Anagnostaras-Adams. He's the executive chairman. And you will want to listen to this interview because Harry has been involved with Ethiopia for over a decade. And I think what happened there this week is a really exciting prospect, not just for Chancery royalty, but also for Kefi Gold and Copper. Kefi Gold and Copper, of course, is part of the Chancery royalty portfolio. So in terms of what's going on, I've seen that President Trump has given Iran 15 days to agree to whatever, I guess, the United States wants. And we know in the past that these negotiations have been kind of, not really held firm, right? So who knows if it's really 15 days? Who knows if the Americans are going to bomb Iran this weekend? Only time will tell, of course, but that's a different topic. What I wanted to talk about really in particular vis-a-vis Iran is that whatever happens, if nothing happens this weekend, if nothing happens in 15 days, I think the world as we knew the world maybe 5-6 years ago is no more. Globalization is finished, and I think de-dollarization is the major symptom of that. We know that China is getting rid of a lot of its treasuries, and a lot of the global south countries, and China included, are buying a lot of gold, and investors are starting to buy a lot of gold to de-dollarize. The other day I spoke about how the UK is looking to have an option in terms of payment system, because the UK is concerned that President Trump or the US could pull the plug on MasterCard and Visa. So if we look back historically, when the world becomes divided, there's a lot more chance of turmoil, of proxy wars, major wars, and commodities become more and more precious. Gold and silver become more and more precious. We saw back in the Napoleonic Wars, the UK had a period where they did not convert Bank of England notes or banknotes into gold. That was the restriction period, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it started in 1797 up until 1820, and then they went back to normal. World War I, same thing happened. The warring powers in Europe knew that they had to abort the gold standard and pay with paper. And unfortunately, Europe has never really gone back to a sound money system, really, like the one we had, the gold standard of the 19th and early 20th century. And all those times, though, cost of living went up, the currency lost a lot of purchasing power, and the general public suffered, not just during the Napoleonic Wars, but also in the aftermath. If you look culturally, literature, for example, Charles Dickens, right? It wasn't a great time, that period. After the Napoleonic Wars, people were suffering the consequence of the inflation of the Napoleonic Wars. And the same thing happened after World War One. We not only had the hyperinflation in Germany and the Central Powers, the old Austro-Hungarian Empire that collapsed, but also here in the UK, and yes, also in the US. And there was like a very short depression after 1920, around 1920-21. And the same thing happened in the 70s when the world was kind of in turmoil. You had the OPEC crisis, the oil embargo, the problems in the Middle East. They always seem to be around. And then the fall of the Shah of Iran in 1979. And all these things have led to inflation. And in the 70s as well, the inflation was also a consequence of the inflation of the mid-late 60s to the early 70s because of the Vietnam War. So that's why I think some of the markets that are really important, like gold, silver, and even crude oil and copper are showing signs that we're going to get another wave of currency debasement. Some people would call it another wave of inflation. I don't like that term. Inflation is more, for me, the increase in the supply of money and credit. So, yes, I'm going to show you a few charts here. And this one is from Bad Charts, from North Star Bad Charts. And I took it from one of their posts, so I need to give them credit. And it shows how silver and crude oil are really correlated, and it's since 1861. And you can see that right now, oil is undervalued versus silver. And I don't expect silver to correct that much. I think we're in a new paradigm. So I think oil is going to catch up. I don't think silver is going to come to catch down, so to speak, with oil. And if we look at this chart of oil as well, crude oil weekly chart going back, about 6 years, you can see that we're breaking out of this falling wedge, and that's very bullish. Yes, it could be to do with Iran. It could be to do with anything really, but the technical picture looks bullish. The other chart I wanted to show you is the LME copper chart, and it's also about 4 years old and looks very bullish as well. It's kind of consolidating here near the top, but it's never been as high as we're now. And copper usually is a sign that the economy is doing well, but in this case it could be a sign of the inflationary pressures, I would say, a sign of commodity encumbrance, and a lot of division in the world. And gold and silver as well. They're looking pretty good right now. Silver is back above 80, and gold is just trading above 5,000. I don't see anything changing there. I think we're going to continue to go higher in gold and silver, or lower in the fiat currencies. So that's what I'm seeing coming back from Ethiopia. And now let's listen to my interview with Harry. And Harry, I would say, is the definition of perseverance, because it hasn't been easy, this project. And I'll let you listen to him. And his company is listed, by the way, in London on the Alternative Investment Market, or AIM. The ticker symbol there is KEFI. Its market cap is around 194 million pounds. And the price is around 1p83, so it's like a penny stock. It's like an OTC market in London, the equivalent. So yeah, here's Harry and I in Ethiopia. Today I'm here with Harry, the executive chairman of Kefi Gold and Copper PLC. Nice to be with you, Harry.
Pleasure.
And Harry is the reason why I'm in Ethiopia this week, and the rest of the Chancery royalty team as well. And Kefi Gold and Copper is one of the companies in our portfolio. Harry, could you give us a brief background of Kefi Gold and Copper and Tulukapi, the company, and your involvement in it?
Sure. About 20 years ago, I moved from Sydney, Australia to Cyprus to focus on this time zone in Europe and Africa rather than having to travel back and forward. And I brought a team of people with me from the Australian mining industry, which is the industry I've spent nearly all of my working life in. And we essentially had a mission, so to speak, an agreed mission between us of tackling all the so-called low-hanging fruit we've been hearing about in Australia for a long time about this part of the world. And my working life, I suppose you could say, started in the late 1970s, and in the whatever it is, 45 years, whatever it is since then, Australia's become a global powerhouse in the mining industry in the same geology as you find in certain parts of the area here, and being relatively undeveloped compared to Australia. So I've grown up, if you like, with all the lessons and experiences in Australia, and had been hearing in my industry roles, also as Deputy Chair of the Gold Council and so on, hearing lots of low-hanging fruit opportunities, but lots of frustration and challenges to convert them into commercial reality. So I figured I'd best move the family and a team to this part of the world and tackle it on the ground instead of flying in and flying out. And you know, we're hands-on people, and we like to think we're very focused, driven, effective people. And we've started up a copper mine in Spain. It's now called Atalaya, the company. When we went there, it was a completely dishevelled project, in complete disrepair, commercially, legally, if I may say, morally amongst the community, and environmentally. And we knocked heads together over some years, learnt a lot of lessons about knocking heads together in Spain, and then we handed it to Spanish management. It was important in Spain that it had Spanish leadership, and now it's a major copper producer, capped at somewhere in the order of £2 billion, I'm not sure. So a big tick for our mission on that one. We've also started a critical materials exploration venture in Cyprus, which is, the word means copper, and we have the national database ourselves, and we've established some mineral resources in copper there, and we have some ideas, particularly now that critical materials have taken off globally, and that venture is in a joint venture with other people running it, but we're looking at actually doing something a bit smarter given what's happened in the world. And the third venture we started was a prospector in frontier markets called Kefi, and we had a red-hot explorer, discoverer, I prefer to say, lead that for the first 10 years, And when we'd made discoveries through that excellent team led by that excellent person, he put up his hand and said, "I'm not the guy for development and finance and engineering. I go off and do other things, and you guys can worry about all that." And he went off to some global organisations to keep doing those things. And I dived into the executive function at Kefi to get the show on the road, if you like. That's about 10 years ago. We've been through lots of challenges in Saudi Arabia. We were invited in by a Fortune 100 family office, the Al Rashid family. And we've made discoveries. We're the only people to make significant discoveries there in that time. And so we're very proud of the work we've done. And that pipeline of discoveries and deposits with exploration also in a pipeline behind that, they'll be coming onto development shortly. And that geology in that part of the world led us directly into Ethiopia. So it's geology that guided us, and then, if you like, the hands-on negotiating and corporate team that then tackled the blockages that had been blocking these things forever. That's why the Aussies came back initially excited about the geology, and then eventually with their tails between their legs on not being able to commercialise all these things. And we got amongst it, basically, to commercialise it. We've had many more challenges than we'd anticipated. We don't pretend we knew Saudi and Ethiopia before we landed, but we certainly learnt a lot about them since. And I think we're held in very high regard for our work in the industry in both places. And the wonderful thing that we've achieved, if I may say, is that we not only survived the challenges that had deterred so many explorers, but we've achieved a sort of a leadership position in the country, in the industries. We've brought major mining groups have followed us into Saudi Arabia. We have brought the first international banking deal to Ethiopia. So we're bringing the industry along with us. They follow us in. And if I may say, it's because we're real industry people. We're not arm-waving promoters. We're not flippers. We just simply try to do what's the right thing for the long term, for the community, for the country, and for our shareholders and our partners. And so where we are today is at this really fantastic moment, and I haven't been able to say that for a long time. But it's a fantastic moment that we're literally just launched yesterday, and you saw it with your own eyes. The Turbulent project in Ethiopia, fully banked, fully funded. We're finessing the final little pieces of the last sort of 5% of the total package. It's just being finessed now. And the Prime Minister, we were honoured that he turned up personally with Deputy PM, Minister of Mines, Minister of Health, Minister of Irrigation, Governor of the Central Bank, President of Oromia, Vice President of Oromia, Head of Mining of Oromia. You couldn't have got a heavier commitment to launch our project. And not only are we launching the project and having been fully covered for all the funding, we managed to do it with barely any reliance on the stock market, and which was quite a task, I'd have to say. And moreover, the country's taken off. It's a powerhouse taking off, and the gold sector's taken off. So we're actually, it's serendipitous that the country, the project, the country, the market taking off at the same moment. That's a pretty rare thing, and it feels fantastic, and compared to, you said to me yesterday I look pretty tired. Well, I am a bit tired. We've been flat out for so long. But wow, to get to this moment, Just give me a week off and I'll be right, you know. But it's a fantastic moment, and I think you've seen it for yourself.
Oh, I have, and I've never had an experience like this this week. And one thing I wanted to ask you is about, because we had quite a few meetings this week, and I listened to you, and the comment you made that really caught my attention is that Ethiopia is like Western Australia, you know,
In the 70s.
untapped.
80s. Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe you could you tell the viewers the prospects for the Tulu Kapi mine and when things are going to start in terms of the gold production and yeah. So
Well, what I was trying to convey to you is that as a bright young guy, you know, full of himself, thinking he's going to conquer the world, all the things that a lot of young men think, you know, straight out of MBA school and all that sort of stuff. My career landed me in a mining family office, 8th generation mining wealth. So most of my career I've worked for the people who founded BHP. Different roles one saw externally, but they were the people behind the scenes that employed me, and that I was appointed into different entities to manage wealth for them. And from the Western Australia had one underground gold mine in 74. And when I started working, there was a phenomenon of the gold industry just popping alive with some technological breakthroughs at the time around the processing of ore using cyanide and those processes. It burst into life a whole bunch of deposits that were irrelevant previously. Now, if you fly over that part of Australia today, you see lots of Tulu Kapis, like mushrooms, popped up everywhere. That's all happened in 40 or 50 years. And it's the same geology, exactly the same geology, same age rocks. And that's going to happen in Ethiopia, now that Ethiopia is welcoming it. When Ethiopia was an empire, when it was controlled by a Soviet-backed regime, it didn't want outsiders from the West to come in and discover and exploit. Didn't care. It does now. And that mushrooming of lots of Tulu Kapis is going to happen. But the work hasn't been done. So Tulu Kapi itself is a classic West Australian open pit plus an underground to add to it, plus a surface processing facility done to 21st century standards. And that whole package of technology and skills, there's oodles of it all over the world now. There'd be hundreds of operations using the same skill sets. In a nutshell, Tulu Kapi is two things. It's a project requiring the same skill sets that I grew up with, being surrounded by people who've done it umpteen times. Very decent, loyal, hard-working people. And it would have been done and dusted in Western Australia a long time ago. And it's still sitting here for a whole bunch of reasons. And now we've got the green light from the Prime Minister, you saw it, and it's on. The second thing that Tulu Kapi is, it's an example of how to do things against 21st century standards for environment, social, technical, everything. And it's because we've fully banked it, the first internationally project financed transaction in the country. It's like a bit of a green light in the mining industry. All the people around the industry follow each other. And they say, oh, that's what Harry's been up to. Oh, it's game on. So what Tulu Kapi signifies not just a project where we have great economics to yield great returns from, but it actually signals that it's game on for Ethiopia. And for us, being an early mover and having developed trust on the ground with all levels of government, It means that we can legitimately and constructively aspire to actually develop the second and third and fourth Tulu Kapi. So we're full of ambition. We've demonstrated our focus, what our mission is, and I think Ethiopia is going to become the powerhouse that Australia has become, and it won't take 50 years.
Yeah, and Harry, I'd like to thank you on behalf of Chancery Royalty for your hospitality. You've been a great host for us and all the other people here as well. And I wish you the best of luck with the future.
You're very kind to say that. I mean, it was, how would I put it? When someone trusts you to back you, deploys $20 million, no matter how much due diligence one does, that's a big responsibility to bear for both sides. And even though it might only be $20 million out of a package of 340, ignoring the mining fleet, which is also financed, ignoring the 100 million we've already put in, it might not look like a lot from a distance compared to the total package, but it's a huge contributor at a critical moment. And we thank you for that and the confidence you've shown in us, and you have our word. We'll respect that confidence and serve you properly.
Thank you, and thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.